Robert Scott Bell.
Good advanced medicine morning to you, Super Don, and everybody out there. Welcome to the Robert Scott Bell Show today. Ready for a rock and roll week?
Absolutely. Every week.
Every week, rock and roll week. This week we start out in Nevada. As by the way, Advanced Medicine Monday continues in a great way. We got a power-packed show. Dr. Nick Gonzalez and Dr. Rashid Bittar. No other show could contain both of those guys in one 2-hour session. So we're going to be blasting it out all over planet Earth. Great stuff. And we got the word definitely, 313,000 show downloads on top of the live listens last month, January. We are growing. And
now, you know what? How come I wasn't privy to that information before we went on the air? That's awesome.
I got a secret text from Mike Adams. He sent it.
313. That is more than last time.
Yeah,
we are growing.
On top of the live listens, et cetera. Really, it's going and growing. And it's sort of like the Ron Paul revolution, the phenomenon that is growing slowly and steadily. Although, I mean, in some ways, we're growing faster than we could have imagined. But some people, Don, are disappointed by what happened in Las Vegas and Nevada, the entire state, because we finally, this morning, know the results. How many days does it take to count a few thousand votes?
Yes, people in Nevada can count, I think.
Yeah.
But yes, the results finally came in, and Ron Paul did come in third place. A lot of us were hoping that he would end up edging out Gingrich, but he didn't. But we're only talking about a difference of 781 votes between them. So really, it was virtually a tie. Mm-hmm. For second place in Nevada.
And overall, the voters were down. The turnout was down for the Nevada caucuses, as well as in general. The turnout has been down overall, which does not bode well for the Republican candidate unless it is Ron Paul. That's another thing we can learn from this. If you're going to rely just upon Republicans, it's not going to be enough. You're going to have to garner the independents, and that still is the argument for Ron Paul. So don't lose heart, anybody, although this is bigger than any one election. A revolution is beyond one election. And, in fact, did you see ABC this week with, what's the guy, Stephanopoulos?
I did, and it was really good. We've got a couple of clips from that interview, and this is something that a lot of the people that are upset and depressed from the turnout in Nevada, you have to understand that even Ron Paul gets that what's going on here with this campaign is bigger than just a win. And Stephanopoulos said, hey, what is it you're expecting to accomplish here? What is it you're trying to do by running this campaign? And Ron Paul, once again, as he always does, beautifully explained what it was that the purpose of the campaign is in addition to winning the nomination.
Well, let's get that perspective right now.
And you've always said that your campaign is much more of a crusade, much more of a mission. But what exactly do you hope to achieve? What kind of stamp do you expect to put on the Republican platform this year?
Well, the first thing you want to achieve is get as many votes as you can and get as many delegates and set your target high. And, of course, you set it for victory, but you have to live within the real world. But in the campaign, that is what the goal is to galvanize people, energize people, get them out and vote. But some people want it either or. You either believe in something and you're not in the race, or you're in the race and you don't believe anything. I don't understand why you can't believe in something and still be in the race. This is the way I ran my congressional campaigns. And I was able to stick to my principles, vote that way, challenge the establishment, get reelected. So it's a bigger challenge, of course, to do this in a nation. But we've done this, in the early primaries like Iowa and New Hampshire. And we've been able to achieve that to a degree. But that is my goal, to make sure that campaigning and political activity represents true beliefs and a true understanding of what we're doing, rather than saying superficially, how do you win the race? How do you become the nominee?
Well,
and that was such a slam on the media, because that's what they always focus on is, well, how are you going to win?
Right.
How are you going to end up becoming the nominee? And it's obvious to Ron Paul, he wants to be the nominee, but at the same time, it's his true beliefs, his principles, and what he stands for is the driving force behind what he's doing.
Don, you're right. I mean, this is so much bigger than these pinheaded media types, if you will, these pseudo-intellectuals in the media like Stephanopoulos. They really don't get it. I mean, they're paid shills to not get it, of course. Maybe they're smart enough to, but they're paid not to, so they know what to do, what to say, what not to say. That's the controlled media. That's what we do differently here, and a few other shows out there are doing that literally are not constrained by the large moneyed interests, the pharmaceutical, global, military, industrial complexes, for instance. And that's the kind of thing that we're revealing and Ron Paul is shaking up. That's why the establishment, Republican and Democrat, are frightened about this movement. And they claim not to understand it. Maybe they don't. I mean, they've been so devoid of principle for so long. To have a guy come around with principles is sort of like looking at it into another reality that you don't recognize. You don't even know the language for it.
They're so fascinated with it when they get him on. They're just kind of like, we just don't understand. What are you doing? Because they're more like sports commentators than they are political analysts. They're looking at this like it's a horse race, and it's just like, I don't understand. You're not running the play where, the guy's going to fake the guy out over here and you're going to throw the pass. No, that's not what he's doing. He's doing this for honest reasons. And if you look at the interesting thing that I find every time that there's a caucus or a primary, that if you look at the exit polls, almost consistently, when they ask people who is the true conservative in the race, they always pick Ron Paul. They don't vote for him, but when they're asked that question, who is the true conservative, it's always Ron Paul. Well, and that's the thing that stands out with him. He's the true conservative in the race.
We still got a little bit of work to do. We recognize that, but a revolution in the midst of which we were in, is something that is happening over time. We'll look back and we'll say, man, did that happen fast? But a lot of times, on the Daily Poll, our friends there are frustrated. Is there vote fraud? And yes, there may be. I wouldn't dispute the possibility, but the reality is they're going to pull out every dirty trick they can to prevent this revolution from completing itself. They cannot stop it, just like an idea whose time has come. As Ron Paul has said, no standing army has the capability to stop it, no matter what the technology is. So there's another clip here from ABC News this week with Stephanopoulos.
And this is Stephanopoulos once again trying to ask him, because that first answer apparently wasn't good enough for him. He didn't quite get it. So he asked him again, well, so what kind of impact, what change are you going to make on the party?
I'm taking you at that point, and that's why I'm trying to get at the deeper question. You said back in 2008 that you wanted to make a permanent mark, be a permanent presence on the American political landscape. And do you think you've been able to do that, and what changes have you actually affected?
Yeah, I do, but I don't take all the credit for it. But there's been a big change in this country because there's a different understanding now. There's a lot more people talking about free market economics rather than Keynesian welfareism and interventionism. So there's a large segment. Intellectually, that is the case. But among the young people, there is a revolution, an intellectual revolution going on with the young people. And there are people who have sat on the sidelines for years. The independents that I talk to, obviously we're not in a large majority right now when the election come, but anybody who cares about what I'm talking about has to come to the campuses. Last night we had in a small college in Minnesota, we had 1,300 people coming out, and they're energized. It has not been translated into an absolute political change, but believe me, the intellectual revolution going on, and that has to come first before you see the political changes, and that's where I'm very optimistic.
Here's a guy who's an absolute student of history, as he laid it out there, Don, amazingly so, that an intellectual revolution has to occur first before the other things. Just as he said, the American electorate has to look at government differently in order for us to be victorious in the sense of within any given election. But as I'm listening to this and I'm thinking about some of the things I'm planning to talk about today with Dr. Batara and Dr. Gonzalez, I think Ron Paul is, in fact, he's inspiring people to be better. He's inspiring people to be more honorable because of his actions, even more than anything he says, because what he says is so aligned with what he does that he is actually inspiring people to live better lives. I've heard people say that he's inspired me to be a better Christian, right? I thought I understood Christianity, but now I'm a better Christian. Now, Ron Paul doesn't go out and try to convert people to Christianity. He just simply lives the teachings as he perceives and believes them to be. And now other people are saying, hey, this guy's inspiring me in so many ways. So you could be Jewish, you could be in the New Age movement, you could be anything, and you're going to be inspired by this guy to live a better life based on his life.
Absolutely. And you have to also look at who it is that he's inspiring. And he said it's the young people. And that's what's going to make the difference as time goes on. It's the young people. Those are going to be the people. They're going to be the leaders, the people. They're going to be running for local offices. And, that's what's going to make a difference. And we'll see as time goes on.
And that's why no matter what happens this election cycle, and we are rooting and pushing and pulling and all that we got to do for Ron Paul, no matter what happens, the revolution is on. It can't be contained. It's not going to be set back. And so inevitably we see see the change, and we be the change, we are the change, etc. But that's why I'm confident for the future, despite the hardships, and the argument could be made it's mental illness. The environment is affecting the mental illness genes of Americans.
Mass hysteria.
We don't all get it yet. No, we get it here on the Robert Scott Bell Show, and I'm so grateful that all of you are here and growing every day. On the United States and World of Health Talk Radio, naturalnewsradio.com. Enter your email address. You'll get your daily updates there. RobertScottBell.com for all the latest and greatest updates, as well as the link to the new vaccine seminar. It has gone live if you haven't seen it yet. And, of course, say thanks because we got Dr. Nick Gonzalez and Dr. Rashid Buttar coming up. Dr. Nick wants to talk a little bit about some biblical stuff. He was upset at Obama, as I am with the right on these things. We'll see how that ties together. And, of course, silver. Silver's in the news as an oncolytic agent. We'll explain that as well. Stay with us. Lots more healing to go.
The Robert Scott Bell Show.